What is up, guys? Today we're going to react to a podcast from Jocko Willink, a retired U.S. Navy SEAL officer and author of the New York best time seller Extreme Ownership. And we're going to talk about water and the dangers of water and how to become comfortable in the water so you can avoid accidents. If you're new to this channel, my name is Gert Leroy, helping you master freediving.
Jocko, what are some workouts to progress in becoming more relaxed in the water?
So that starts good. So, what are some workouts that we can do to become more relaxed in the water? Because people are always asking me, Gert, when we start a freediving course, should we be swimmers? Should we be comfortable in the water already? And well, of course, the answer is yes. The more comfortable you are, the better. Although it is not necessarily a prerequisite. I mean, there are people who go to a freediving course without being swimmers, but obviously, the more comfortable you are in the water, the better you will do.
I need to lower my heart rate.
Okay.
So I need to lower my heart rate because stress increases your heart rate. And when we want to hold our breath, we want to have low heart rate, bradycardia. Bradycardia is one of the 4 physiological adaptations from the mammalian diving reflex. So the lower your heart rate, the less energy you use and the longer you can hold your breath.
Again, this is a good question. It's actually a little bit of a universal question. That's why, again, I like to take questions that apply universally to multiple.
Okay, so let's keep it universal. I know this is a freediving channel, so every comment I'm gonna give is gonna have a repercussion towards the freediving world. So I'm always making the comparison with freediving, but I'll try to do that less. So this video is more for general purpose and for people who haven't freedived yet. So this is more about becoming comfortable in the water.
Things. Becoming comfortable in the water is very important. Water makes you better.
Water makes you better. So when I started freediving 6 years ago, my life simply changed for the better. I mean, if you've seen my intro videos on my pre-recorded YouTube videos, that's what I always start with, right? So you could there is a book called Blue Mind by Wallace G. Nichols. I highly suggest you reading this book. This is all about the effects of water and being around water on the human psyche and how you can simply become better as a human being. I mean, there have been studies, cases documented about war veterans that didn't speak for years and that were brought into surfing camps in the water, of course, and suddenly started speaking again. So it's amazing what effects water can have on a human psyche.
Water makes you a better person. And I'll tell you, I've said this before, in the SEAL teams, one of the things that makes us good in the SEAL teams is we have to deal with water, and water is a pain in the ass.
You have to deal with water, and water is a pain in the ass. And yeah, I mean, salt water. So when you swim in a swimming pool, it's fresh water. I would say that is less a pain in the ass, but still. But in the sea, salt water, I mean, it wears down your equipment, your lanyards that they break after some time because of corrosion. And I mean, water is a heavy element, and you have to learn how to deal with it.
It ruins things, it floods things, it stops things, it stops guns from working, it stops radios from working, it stops humans from working.
It stops your breath from working. I mean, you can't breathe underwater.
You drown in it. Water is very tough to deal with.
So you drown in water, and this video we'll talk about safety. So we have to take precautions to become comfortable in water and to avoid accidents, of course.
It's a very harsh environment, especially the ocean water. I used to say that every time you go in the water, it's a real world problem because you can get killed. You can get killed in the ocean. You can get killed in the ocean today.
You can get killed in the ocean today. So in freediving, we teach safety standards from the very first course. We'll come back later to that. But outside of the scope of freediving, you should always be mindful that whatever you do in the water, even if you're not holding your breath, you can still die. You know, I mean, many years ago, I was windsurfing in Brazil, and I got caught by a big wave, and I got slammed with my head on the surface of the water. It was like I felt like if I was being slapped against a wall, and I really thought I would die. So you don't necessarily have to freedive or hold your breath to get in trouble in water. So this video is all about becoming comfortable in the water.
If you make the wrong moves, so you definitely need to be comfortable in the water. Now, first things first, water will kill you.
Water will kill you. Safety in freediving, we have the one up, one down system. So never hold your breath alone. Even if you hold your breath to maybe 50% of your maximum and you think like, hey, I can perfectly deal with this. I mean, I'm not going to black out. No, this is how accidents happen. So whatever you do in the water, always practice this with a buddy at your side. This is rule number one in freediving. Never freedive alone. Whether you're diving in a pool, whether you're diving vertically, like down and back up, or you're just laying in the water and holding your breath, always dive with a buddy, because if you black out and no one rescues you, that's the end of your life.
Water will kill you. You will die. If you make mistakes in the water, you will die.
So I haven't seen this video yet, but it's a lot about dying, of course. But yes, let's just be mindful about this. I can't stress this enough. You have to dive with a buddy, and this is a mistake many beginners make because they have too much confidence and they think that they don't need to listen to instructors, and then yeah, problems can happen, of course. So most of the time in freediving or drownings in water, when something happens, it is because the person was swimming or diving alone.
So whoever wrote this question and whoever's going to heed my advice here, note and be advised that water will kill you. So when you swim, you got to have a lifeguard, and there's a couple.
So when you swim, you got to have a lifeguard. Back to freediving, you got to have a buddy. So a lifeguard, a buddy, it doesn't matter, a person who is skilled to assess the situation and to see when something is going wrong and immediately take action. Because sometimes, you know, like you can try breath holding. People try breath holding on their own in a pool because they think, well, I'm not alone. So there's many people here. There are lifeguards. And if I would black out or if I would go sinking down to the bottom of the pool, then lifeguards will see me. Well, reality has shown that this takes a long time before you get noticed by lifeguards. So it may be way too long, and people don't recognize those signals, you know. So you have to be really educated about this. You have to understand what is the situation that is in danger, because when you just lay down flat in the water and you hold your breath, I mean, no one knows whether you're blackout or just holding your breath. People probably think, yeah, you're all fine, but that might not be the case.
Examples, a guy when I went through SEAL training with, who was a stud, a complete stud. He was the honor man of my buds class.
Also, studs can die.
And a great guy. I mean, it's cool to be honor man. It means you're a good athlete, but this guy was also beyond that, was just a great guy.
And great guys can die.
Extremely motivated. His name is Keith Kimura. And he was practicing breath holds as he was this was, you know, after we went through SEAL training, and he had gone to a SEAL team and served. And
okay, so we always have to know, was he practicing breath holding alone or not? So I'm curious to hear what he's got to say about that.
Come back to be a SEAL instructor, and he was practicing breath holds during an evolution for the students. And while all that was going on, you know,
during an evolution for the students. So yeah, I can see the problem here. He thought he was not alone because he was surrounded by students. But when no one is paying attention to you, it's the same as if you're practicing breath holding alone. So even if you're with a buddy that does not know how to react in terms of in times of distress, then it is like if you are diving alone. So when we say dive with a buddy, we mean dive with a skilled buddy, a buddy who is watching you and who knows how to perform a rescue on you. So just because you're surrounded by people, that doesn't mean you're not alone.
They're doing stuff with the students, and he's down there practicing breath holds,
like on his own kind.
He was in the group, but on his own.
He was in the group, but on his own. No one was paying attention to him, and when he blacked out, no one saw a goddamn thing.
That makes sense. So there's a big evolution going on, and while this big evolution going on, he's kind of doing his own thing.
Right.
And he died.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
He's doing breath holds. He stayed down there. He had a shallow water blackout, and
So shallow water blackouts, if it's in a pool, it's always shallow, of course, because shallow means not deep. So we talk about deep blackouts when it's like 10 meters or deeper, but most of the blackouts, like the vast majority of all blackouts, they are shallow water blackouts. So they happen on the surface of the water, which we call a surface blackout, or they just happen a couple of meters underwater, like right before you come up and right before you reach the surface.
He died, and it was awful. I mean, what an incredible guy. We also had some SEALs in 2015.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy to have found this video. And it's interesting to see the perspective of someone who comes from a military background and who basically talks about the same thing that we do in freediving.
That were in Virginia Beach, young studs getting after it, training super hard, and they both died in a pool in Virginia Beach. And again, these are frogmen. These guys are pushing themselves, and
so pushing yourself is not exactly a problem, because that's what athletes do. That's what military people do when they want to become better. So you push yourself, whatever that might mean. I mean, not pushing exactly and holding your breath longer, but you might run longer distances or lift heavier weights, whatever sport you're doing. You have to push yourself to become a better person. So that is not the problem. Also in freediving or breath holding, just because you push yourself to a longer breath hold, that is not a problem. The problem is when you're doing it without supervision. So pushing yourself can result in a blackout, but if you are supervised and if something happens and you can get rescued, that's not a problem at all.
Trying to make themselves better, and they push that envelope, and that's what SEALs do. And they pushed it, and they went over the line, and unfortunately they were training together.
Oh, so here we hear it. So they were training together. So yeah, never dive alone. Okay, let's train together. But if you're both holding your breath at the same time, then it is the same as diving alone, because how can you pay attention to your body when you are holding your breath as well? So yeah, it's so sad to see this happening. These are rookie mistakes. And then when you see that these guys who are training professionally they're aspiring a professional career and as a Navy SEAL, and then these kind of accidents happen, which are totally avoidable. That is really sad.
At the same time, so you got to be safe. Don't train alone, and don't train with someone that's doing the same thing as you at the same. You can't endure the same thing together.
So don't dive together. So see many couples diving. It's nice for pictures, but who's going to rescue you when something happens? I mean, you got to respect the system of one up, one down. So one stays at the surface, looks at you, and the other one dives. Also for breath holding, one holds his breath, the other one looks at you.
It's a real simple rule. It's a one up, one down. So
there you have it, one up, one down.
If it's your turn to train, I stay out.
Right.
And then you do your evolutions, and then when you're done, okay, now it's my turn to train, you stay out and you watch me. It's one up, one down.
So in freediving, one stays on the surface and then the other one goes down. Let's say you do like a 20-meter dive. When the diver reaches 20, he or she turns, and while you turn, that's when your buddy who's watching you at the surface goes down, and then you meet somewhere halfway, which would be in the case of a 20-meter dive, which would be 10 meters. So at 10 meters, both look at each other and swim back up. And your diver is going to look for signs of hypoxia. Hypoxia means extreme low levels of oxygen. So when the safety diver looks at you and sees that you are in distress, that you are showing signs of hypoxia, like wide open eyes, like uncontrollable movements, like a sudden exhalation, like uncoordinated movements, and you're not paying attention to your technique, all of that are signs of hypoxia. And then your diver will already come closer and anticipate actually on a blackout, and probably already grab you and escort you, help you back to the surface so you don't black out. And in case you do black out, and perform a rescue on you, of course.
That has to be the standard. Again, people don't play around with the water. I've had shallow water blackouts, and they just come and that's it. You're unconscious. And
yeah, they just come and you're unconscious. And it is another rookie mistake to think that you would actually know when it comes, and that you could not push your limits or not push the envelope. And then, I'm only holding my breath for like 60-70% of my maximum. So I'm not pushing it. So I'm not going to that point that I could black out. Sorry, guys, it's total bullshit, because you don't know when that happens. You can just black out without any warning. And I have blacked out once in my freediving career. That was a surface blackout during a competition, Asian Freediving Cup. I think it was like 2 years ago, right before the pandemic, or 1 year before. And I had no idea I was blacking out. I was a 55-meter no fins dive. And I don't remember anything from the last 15 meters swimming back up. So when I asked people and the safety team, how was my technique? How did I look like on the last 15 meters? They said, you looked fine. We didn't see anything. Your technique was fine. It all looked good. So this is your body going into automatic pilot, while my brain, my mind was already far gone, because I don't remember anything of the last 15 meters going up. So when I reached the surface, I wanted to take a breath and do the recovery breath, but that didn't work. And I fainted. And all that happened was like they had to push me back straight, and I was out of unconscious 1 or 2 seconds maybe. But yeah, that is a blackout. And if they don't save you, then you fall back into the water and you drown. So just because you're unconscious for 1 or 2 seconds before you wake up, that doesn't mean that it will be less severe. Because if they haven't rescued me, I would have been dead, of course. So I didn't know that this blackout was coming.
And if someone's not there to drag you out, you're going to drown. You're going to die. That's it.
Yeah.
And
exactly. So that's what I just said.
Again, it's sort of, you can tell that they're coming a little bit, and you get used to them, but it's sort of like getting choked out in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You've been choked out before, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I agree with this, that you can tell if they're coming. I mean, it all depends on the situation. Like if you're down like 20 meters deep, and you feel that you're already in problems, in a state of panic, I mean, you still have to go 20 meters back up. So obviously your mind can make the calculation, right? So that only adds up on the stress. So does that mean that you can feel a blackout coming? I think you feel the stress coming. I think you can feel the anxiety coming. And suddenly, from being confident to going completely in red, that can take like a second. So in a second, you can suddenly change your mind and realize, oh, fuck, I'm not going to make this back up. It's a rookie mistake, of course, because experienced freedivers, they progress gradually and they assess the situation. But sometimes you go too deep as a beginner and then you realize you can't back up. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can feel the blackout coming.
Many times.
Yeah, so you think you're going to make it.
Yeah.
And then you don't.
And you can push it too. That's the thing. Especially when you're training. Like when I'm trying to get stronger.
So now they're talking about getting choked out in fighting. So when you apply like a rear naked choke, basically what is happening is that the blood flow towards your brain is restricted, because the blood can't pass through your blood vessels, your arteries anymore. That's a different kind of blacking out than the blackout we have in freediving. So in freediving, the blood flow towards the brain is never restricted because you're not choking anyone, but that blood just doesn't contain enough oxygen anymore because you are hypoxic. Now, in choking out in fights, you can choke someone out in 7 seconds. So that is way faster than blackout. I mean, you have to hold your breath a bit longer than 7 seconds before you black out, right? So those two things are not the same.
Like chokes, and you want to be, if you have some fight in you, you want to be able to fight, so you push it a lot of times, especially when you have experience. You push it a little bit. And
so I've never been choked out, so I don't really know how that feels, but I can imagine what she's talking about here is when you are in a choke and you don't want to tap out, you just wait, you don't give up. So that's what he means with you want to push it. So how long can you wait until you lose consciousness?
And then sometimes, because you just gotta go, you can feel the blackout coming, but once you go right past that point, you can't tap anymore, and you go out.
It's like you know what the event horizon is in a black hole?
Yeah.
That little, there's a line.
Yeah,
if you go.
So yeah, we're still talking about choke. So once you pass the line, there's no return. But in freediving, you don't really see that specific line. Like, okay, if I go over that line, then I will black out. It's a different feeling.
Over that
Like,
line, you're done.
yep.
And that's exactly what happens with your consciousness. You can see that line. You're watching it,
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm gonna
see it
be okay,
coming.
I'm gonna make it, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yep.
And you're over the line, you're in the black hole, and that's
Yeah.
it.
So once you black out, you don't really remember what happened. And when you get rescued by your buddies and you wake up, you're like, you're asking yourself what happened. Usually there's a couple of people around you, which is a different scenario than when you surface. So you know that something happens because you see your buddies, but you need a couple of seconds to realize what actually happened. And most of the time, your buddies have to tell you what happened.
So be very, very careful when you're doing this. Always have a swim buddy, swim with a lifeguard, all that stuff. Now,
Yeah, never dive alone.
out back to the question, beyond the safety portion, is how do you get more comfortable in the water? You spend time in the water, swim, surf, spear fishing, snorkeling, scuba diving.
And I absolutely agree with this on how you get more comfortable in the water. I think in freediving, people are focusing just a little bit too much on the typical freediving exercises and what you have to do to become a better freediver. But if you just spend time in the water, if you just do whatever, have fun in the water, go snorkeling, play some underwater chess, whatever, rugby or whatever, just play with your friends in the water, explore the ocean, that alone will give you a huge edge over someone who didn't do that. So if you go to a freediving course and you've never been in the waters, and obviously you're not going to feel that comfortable in the water. So being around the water, playing in the water will help you a lot as a freediver.
Survival, floating, breath holds, treading water, just that's how you get comfortable in the waters, by
Mix it up. So that's my main advice when people ask me, okay, Gert, with all the travel restrictions, I can't dive. What can I do to train and then train my breath hold and become better? Mix it up. You gotta be inventive and you gotta mix it up. I mean, there must be a way to have access to water, right? Probably not depth, but you can go to swimming pools, to a pond, whatever it is, and play in the water.
be in the water. Give yourself little challenges. Swim with t-shirts in your hands. Swim with your clothes on. Swim, de-jock while you're just all those things
Swim with your clothes on. Why not? It's a different feeling.
to get to be in the water and do things and swim, and that's how you get more comfortable in the water. And you'll rapidly increase your ability to be in the water and handle yourself in the water. And
I agree. So I think for most beginners, it's a better thing to step away from this typical mindset of what is a good training plan for me? Like, how many laps should I do? And what rest interval should I take in between breath holds? And okay, I can do like 25 meters in a pool underwater now. How many times should I do this? I think people are complicating things a lot. And I think that if you just play in the water and you just do intermittent breath holds, just swim a bit underwater, then breathe again, just get out of this mindset that you need a typical training program and just start playing in the water. And in my opinion, especially as a beginner, this will yield way more better results to eventually hold your breath longer and dive deeper.
You'll be much more calm in the water. And the reason I said this is a universal question is because it's the same thing with just about everything else that you're going to do. It's the same thing with swimming. It's the same thing with doing you want to get good at pull-ups? Do more pull-ups. You want to get better at public speaking? Get up and start doing public speaking.
Yeah, you want to get better at making videos at YouTube? Make more videos. That's what I'm trying to do in 2022.
Same thing with shooting. Like when people first start shooting and they're all intimidated by firearms, it's because they're not used to them. So spend time shooting, spend time.
That's another thing I would like to learn. I mean, I would like to learn how to handle firearms, learn how to shoot. So maybe, hopefully, this might happen in 2022 for me.
Around guns, you'll get used to the muzzle flash, you get used to the concussion of the noise, and you will be more comfortable about it. So that's what you need to do in the water. You spend more time in the water, and you'll get better at it.
I think you got the message, guys. Spend more time in the water.
You'll get more comfortable. Again, be careful when you're doing it. The water will kill you.
Because if not, the water will kill you. So we got a couple of guys here. It's too cold to practice outside. My table's how deep you dive, Arsenio. James, it's usually only 10 meters under my boat. Arsenio says, kind of. Somebody's in Mexico are going 50, 60, 70. So in the cenotes in Mexico, if you ever get the chance to go to the cenotes, go there. And guys, I'm going to wrap it up. If you would like to know my 12 best tips to hold your breath longer underwater, then please click this video here. And that is it. Peace in every breath.